Hey YouTube, and hello fellow airheads. Um, I'm currently working on a house project and I'm not able to really take on some big projects, not working on my motorcycle or my VW bus or anything else. So I'm totally committed for the next 2.5, 3 weeks working on my house, getting a pretty big remodel done. Once that's over, then I'm going to jump right back into working on my project videos and we'll resume the normal posting schedule. But for now, I'm just going to pick up little topics here and there. Today, we're going to talk about something airhead related. In particular, we're going to talk about grease fittings. And I'm not the all-out expert, but I have a pretty good grasp on what tool or what grease gun to use for which type of grease fitting. And I saw a question of a fellow airhead enthusiast on the airhead list, which is an email group. He asked what type of grease gun attachment to use for the different types of Zerk fittings that are on a airhead. So I will just point that out real quick video. Give me 5 minutes. All right, I'll turn you around and then we're going to take a look at it. All right, guys. So what are we looking at? R90. Right at the end of the engine is the attachment for the brake lever, your foot brake lever, which is the rear wheel brake. And right on there is a Zerk fitting. And this is the most common one. You have this little ball-shaped extension. In there is a spring-loaded Zerk, which allows the grease to go in but not back out. So this is the most common, right? So now let's head over to the other side. So then here we have the rear brake lever, and there is a different type of Zerk fitting that's pretty much just a little recess. Again, there is a spring-loaded little ball in there that allows you to squeeze grease in it, but grease doesn't come out. And then I already took the cap off. This is the swing arm bearing, or part of the swing arm bearing setup. Right in the middle is a drilled hole. There's actually no Zerk in there, at least here not on my bike. Maybe that's different for your bike. And this can also be greased. Usually there is this plastic cover on it to keep the dirt out. I just took that off. So every time you do any kind of greasing, you want to make sure you first wipe everything down. So that if you use a grease gun, you don't want to push dirt or contamination into the grease fitting. So make sure it's clean on the outside. Then you have to pick the right grease gun. So most common, let me zoom out a little bit for you here. Most grease guns, standard ones that you can buy, Harbor Freight, auto parts store, they have this, it's kind of like a click-on mechanism that goes on. Here is a bunch of Zerk grease fittings that have this ball-shaped end right here. And that's what this grease gun end will kind of clip on and hold onto it quite tightly. And then when you're done pumping grease into this grease Zerk, then usually people have a really hard time pulling this back off. You have to wiggle left and right and then pull it off. But what most people don't know, you can undo this slightly. This top end here is actually kind of loose. So the looser you turn this, the easier you can pull it off the grease fitting. Downside of that is you might get a little bit of grease squeezing out here. And if you make it too loose, it will pop off the end of the grease Zerk here. So then, let's say we want to use this recessed grease Zerk there. You need a attachment for your grease gun that is pretty much a grease needle end. So there's a little hole in there. That's where the grease is going to come out. And on the other side is just a grease Zerk fitting that fits right on there. So you can click it on, leave it on, and then use the pointy end, go into this grease Zerk, push it nice and tightly in there, and then you're going to pump grease into the brake lever. This doesn't need much grease. I mean, if you see a little bit of grease squeezing out on the edge, then you are done. It doesn't take 20 pumps with your grease gun. So I know the swing arm bearings that have no zerk in there, but they are greasable, you need another attachment, which is this one. This actually has a kind of a rubber coated tip. In this case, you actually have to take this entire attachment off the grease gun hose. So right here is where that separates. So you just have to put 2 wrenches on, one here, one there, crank it loose, and then instead put this rubber tipped pointy thing in there. That fits right into the hole. You again push a little bit, pump 1, 2, 3 pumps of grease in there, and then call it a day. Now I made a mess out of it. And then you're pretty much done with your motorcycle. Everything else either requires special tools. Wheel bearings can be greased up, but you need a certain grease attachment. What is it called? I have no idea. You pull the axle out and then you put a tool in there, and the tool has a zerk fitting on the end, and then you can pump grease in there. But oftentimes stuff just needs to be taken apart to really get grease into the wheel bearings. So, but for the 3 common spots, the brake lever, standard attachment, the little convex zerks, you need this needle attachment. They come in different flavors. This here is a brass tip, so that's fine too. And then for the swing axle, or the swing arm axle, or the swing arm bearing, you need this rubber tipped attachment. And that's pretty much it. Then a little add-on here. This is a lock-in loop. This is pretty much a newfangled version of this good old-fashioned thing here. But people always have a hard time cranking this back off the zerk fitting. Then they end up breaking this thing off because they didn't know that you can actually adjust how tight this is on there. So they push it on and it sits on there, and then they can get it loose anymore. With this puppy, when this is mounted on this hose, you just pull this little lever here. Maybe I should have taken it out, right? Yeah, let's take it out. There's the end where the grease fitting goes in. You just grab it, you pull it back, snap it on, let go, pump grease. When you're done, push the lever, pull out, done. That's how that works. And it actually holds onto the grease fitting pretty well. The only problem is that this contraption is much larger than the conventional one here. And I have a couple of grease fittings on my VW bus that are a little hard to get to, and this thing just doesn't fit into the corner. So I went back to good old faithful here. So those are the grease fittings that you have, at least on my 1974 R90, and the attachments that you may need. I like this one here because it's really, you don't have to take anything off. You just plop it on there and call it a day. Yeah, and that's it. That's the video for today. You guys take care, and I see you in the next one. Bye.